Yo, what's good, everybody? Superman has been out for a weekend, and I feel like most of you guys have had a chance to see it by now. I hope so, because we're going to be talking about the movie one last time in a bit of a spoiler capacity. Wanted to give you guys the weekend and a couple extra days just because I'd be tired sometimes, man. But we're going to talk about some things that I really liked, some things that I didn't like quite as much, and one big thing that's kind of an elephant in the room at the end of the movie. Let's talk about Supergirl. Um, her cameo at the end of the movie, very fun. She looks great. I'm excited for the Supergirl movie. First off, Jason Momoa as Lobo gonna be super cool. However, her being there kind of complicates things because the main plot of the movie centers around Superman finding out and the rest of the world finding out that he was sent from Krypton to Earth to conquer it, not, to protect him or to protect the planet. He was sent there to dominate like a Viltrumite or like a Saiyan or something. Um, and while I've heard a lot of complaints about that particular plot point, I don't really care that much. I think that, I mean, this movie was originally called Superman Legacy, and having seen the movie and hearing that, it makes sense as to why. But I don't personally care too much about Krypton. Never really have. That's why I didn't watch the Krypton show. Though I think that it works for this movie because the particular story that they're trying to tell with Clark Kent and Kal-El is you decide who you are. It's through your actions and the content of your character that determines what kind of person or what kind of man you are, not where you come from or what other people want you to be, which is kind of the same thing that the Spider-Verse movies are about. So I like that, and I like that message. However, I mean, everybody turns on Superman as a result of it. Mostly everybody. They're scared that he's got the secret harem and he's got all these other things going on. But if Supergirl exists, do people know about her? Does she come to Earth to do hero stuff often? Or does she, like, kind of just hang out in the fortress? Or does she lay low? Does she pretend to be human? Does she do super things as Supergirl? Because if so, why weren't people asking about her? You know? And it's a bit of a nitpick, right? But I think it's important because that's really relevant to her character, considering that she was not a baby, and she was not a newborn baby when Krypton exploded. She was a teenager. So, did she grow up with this mentality of conquering worlds? Did she develop amnesia at a certain point and forget about that? Is Krypton a galactic empire? Like, have they conquered other worlds out there? Is that where we'll run into, like, Zod and characters like that? Is that they have conquered other worlds under Yellow Suns? Or is Jor-El crazy? Are Jor-El and Lara just insane people, and they wanted their son to be a conqueror because they knew that it was possible? Maybe it's not the will of Krypton, maybe it's the will of the House of El, and that's it. I think there's a lot to explore there. I'm not exactly ready to call it a plot hole yet. I do think that it's going to make for some interesting storytelling in the next movie, though. In Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow comes out next year. Just some thoughts that I had about that character in particular. Because I want to say it's not that deep, but it kind of is, when the whole thing is that people are scared of Kryptonians, and she's a Kryptonian who frequently leaves the planet and comes back, or whatever. And I don't know. Purely speculation. You guys are more than welcome to speculate in the comments as well. Next thing I want to talk about. I said that there was something that Superman does in Man of Steel that I didn't like, and that he does it again here, and I still don't like it. And that is he kills. He kills one person. He kills Ultraman. I don't love that. You can make the excuse that, well, he's barely even a person. He can't speak or think independently or do any of that. And that's true, but I think that Superman should still have it in his heart to try to subdue him non-lethally or talk him down or something, rather than try to kill him. And I don't necessarily think that Ultraman is dead. You know, he got knocked into a black hole, and I do think that Superman, even in this movie, could survive a black hole if he were sucked into it. The thing with the earlier scene where he's trying to escape it is because we don't know that Baby Joy will survive it, and Baby Joy probably will not. and Metamorpho definitely won't. But Ultraman probably could, because I think the Superman probably could. So I think that the interesting thing that James Gunn could do next time around is have Ultraman return as Bizarro, give him the backwards S, have him start speaking in opposites, give him gray skin, blue eyes, all of that good stuff. Because Bizarro's never been in a movie. You know who else has never been in a movie? Brainiac. Wouldn't it be great if we had both of the Bs in the next movie? Anyway. Yeah, I don't like that he does that, and I also don't love that the movie just kind of like doesn't take a moment to talk about it or reflect on that. But again, it's not enough to hinder my enjoyment of it. Another thing that I don't love is that the Hammer of Baravia, as we now know as Ultraman, but Superman probably figures it out later. But the movie just like drops the Hammer of Baravia. You know, I assume that their Netanyahu stand-in, whatever the president's name is, I can't remember. I'm sure that he's the one that does the voice for the Hammer, while Ultraman does all the fighting and stuff like that. But I feel like maybe in the original script, the Hammer of Baravia was supposed to have more to do. But in the movie, he's only in that one scene, and his only purpose is to drum up more tension between the U.S. and Baravia, which, I mean, sure, you should probably do that if you're Lex Luthor in that situation. But I just think that it's a little silly that everybody just kind of, like, moved on from it, too. Like, nobody has any more questions about where the Hammer of Baravia went. Probably back to Baravia, but, like, why haven't we seen it again these last couple of weeks? Or I don't know. A lot of it is just nitpicks, obviously. Like, personally, I would have liked for a little bit more Clark Kent at the Daily Planet. There was a lot of Clark Kent and a lot of Daily Planet, not a whole lot of overlap there. And that's just, you know, because we didn't really get a whole lot of that in the Snyderverse. In Man of Steel, Clark only gets a job at the Daily Planet at the end of the movie. And then in BVS, he has, what, one, maybe two scenes at the planet? I don't know, it leaves a little bit to be desired there. Because it's like, you know, you look at the Marvel side of things, we haven't had a Peter Parker that works at the Daily Bugle since 2007. You know? So, things that are important to these characters, it would be nice to see them a little bit more often, that's all. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And if I were to make one change to the plot of the movie, I wouldn't have Clark and Lois be together yet, because I want to see a little bit of Clark, you know, yearning for Lois and her being too involved in her work to notice. Alright, that's enough. That's it. That's all the complaining I really have. I want to talk a little bit more about the positives. First thing, I think that people that complain about like there being too many other heroes in this movie are out of their minds. The point, like the one of the core messages of the movie is kindness bringing people together, right? So I like that Superman, in his steadfastness and his unwillingness to give up, motivates the Justice Gang to act against what Guy Gardner actually wants to do because of what's right. And besides, I mean, it's a DC universe, right? Superman in the comics does not solve all of the problems by himself. And as much as he cares about the people of Jarhanpur and wants them to be protected from Baravia, he can't be there and in Metropolis stopping Lex Luthor at the same time. He has to make a choice, you know? And that's what superhero movies are about, you know, figuring out a way out in these impossible situations. Batman does it, Spider-Man does it, and Superman does it. And the third option here is I go to Metropolis, Guy Gardner goes to Jarhanpur. And that's just, that makes sense to me. I think that the smartest thing that James Gunn can do right now, three things. One, greenlight a Mr. Terrific TV show right now. One that has Plastic Man, Phantom Girl, Metamorpho in it. That would be good. And next, he should just go ahead and confirm that Robert Pattinson's Batman is the main Batman of the DCU. Because if you watch the Batman and Superman, they're kind of about similar things. You know, they both find out things about their parents that they didn't know, and it changes their entire worldview. They aren't who they thought they were. And then through, you know, the central conflict, okay, they also are kind of like working against themselves in a way. That's kind of a stretch, right? Because Batman has inspired a copycat in the form of the Riddler, and Superman is fighting a clone of himself. It's a little bit of a stretch, but they do kind of splinter off into interesting paths because Batman realizes that he's been going about things the wrong way, and he kind of forges himself a new identity as Batman, you know, spreading hope rather than fear and trying to bring the city together. Whereas Superman realizes that no matter why he was sent to Earth, the people that raised him are responsible for who he is. And that the best thing for him to do is to just keep doing what he's been doing. Right? You know, his arc is that even though I'm not who I thought I was, I still like the person that I've chosen to be. And I'm going to continue to do my best to help people. Bruce's arc is, I'm not who I thought I was, and that means that I need to make a change. I like both of those. They are completely different in tone and visual presentation, and I think that's great. Because even though Batman and Superman both spread hope, and they both are kind to children, they are different in what they do. Batman hurts people, Superman tries his best not to do that. And I think that embracing those characters' differences is the best thing to do in building the DC universe. That way, when you do get them together on screen eventually, it feels more dynamic, it feels more interesting, it feels like a crossover. You know, one thing with the MCU, after a while, all the characters kind of just started to have the same personality, you know what I mean? And so Avengers movies didn't feel like a melting pot of different characters and dynamics and personalities, because everyone's the comic relief. You know, everyone's equally badass, everyone's pretty much equally smart. You know, it just kind of gets a little annoying after some time when you have all these characters crossing over all the time, but it doesn't ever create any interesting character dynamics or moments. Especially when, I mean, you're watching Endgame and Thor's having a meltdown over Natasha dying, which I understand is because he's lost so many people already, he doesn't want to lose anyone else. He's not ready to accept that he has lost someone else. But he's, you know, bellyaching over Natasha, but I can't recall a single conversation that those two characters had. You know, those movies aren't really about creating moments and dynamics between their characters. It's just about, look, it's these two on screen. And that just kind of got old after a while. But if Batman and Superman are so drastically different from one another in tone, in visual style, in storytelling methods, then that, I think, enriches the experience. And that's what Batman vs. Superman kind of missed out on, because Batman and Superman both kill a lot of people in those two movies, right? I mean, even the first scene where Batman and Superman meet, Bruce is chasing people down in the Batmobile, shredding them to death with bullets, killing people left and right, and Superman's standing like around the corner from all of this, listening to it. He knows what's happening, and he's not stopping it because he needs to stand there on Aura Farm and then threaten Batman. The two characters are too similar in that movie for it to work the way that it needs to. But Robert Pattinson's Batman and David Corenswet's Superman are different enough to make that interesting. Alright, I'm done with my soapbox. Third thing James Gunn needs to do is get to work on the script for Superman 2. I'm sure that this movie is going to do well enough to warrant a sequel. I think people are excited. What I'm also hoping is that this kind of changes how things are looking for the DCU, because a lot of projects did get canceled, like the Authority movie, the Sergeant Rock movie. I don't think the Waller series is moving forward anymore. A lot of things have been shaken up recently. I think that's a good thing. Um, I think that the focus right now needs to be Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. Then we can extend to the Flash. The Green Lantern series is coming out. That's fine. But we can then go to Green Arrow, and Black Canary. They can share a movie. We can do more with Hawkgirl and Hawkman if we want to. We can explore Aquaman. But I feel like, you know, characters that people are more familiar with is where we should start. The same thing that Marvel did, but, you know, in a way that doesn't necessarily feel like you're trying to play catch up or trying to rush things, because obviously they're going to want to do a Justice League. They're going to want to make a movie where they fight Darkseid. All that stuff is clearly on the table. And I think that we're off to a good start. This, I don't know if I would say this or Iron Man is better, but I feel like as far as starting a cinematic universe, this movie does a good job. And I'm looking forward to what's coming next. Even as somebody who's not a Wonder Woman fan at all, I think she's a little bit more important to figure out than Sergeant Rock. You know what I mean? So hopefully that's what's going on. I'm realizing I've kind of stopped talking about the movie and I'm talking more about DC, but I also feel like another reason that they should use Robert Pattinson Batman instead of, you know, casting a 40-something-year-old is because I want Batman and Superman to be close to each other in terms of age and experience. This is a year 3 Superman, and we have a year 2 Batman in the Batman Part 1. That sounds good to me. They're both early 30s. Well, Robert Pattinson's probably closer to like 35 now, right? How old is he? Ooh, he's 39. Okay. But yeah, I think that can still work. I mean, after all, Ben Affleck was a good deal older than Henry Cavill. He still is. But anyway, I think that's a better route to go. Obviously, I want to see Robin. I want to see Nightwing. I want Nightwing and Superman to have a relationship like they do in the comics. There's a whole lot of stuff that I want, and this movie has given me hope, which is what Superman does. And since I've watched it, I've just felt better, you know? I've felt more hopeful, I've felt better about myself, and I'm trying to do better, trying to be better every day now that I've seen the movie. I know it's corny to come away from a superhero movie feeling like that, but I also feel like that's the point. I feel like that's what you want with Superman. That's the goal of making a movie about that character, and I don't really have any regrets for feeling that way. I'm glad. I love this movie, and I'm sad I've only seen it once so far. I would like to carve out some time to see it again, but I can't do it today because I'm working on more videos for you guys. But I don't know. I'll see the movie again when I get a chance. Definitely before Fantastic Four comes out, because once Fantastic Four drops, we're going to be talking a lot more about Marvel, because that movie's got a lot of work to do. But I guess that's all I've got for my Superman and DC thoughts right now. Let me know what you guys think. You know, do you agree with anything that I've said here today? If so, please let me know, and I'll see you guys next time.